Let's give a good round of applause for God Behind Bars. Allow for this event to take place. A lot of you have met our guest today, Mr. Higgins. Let's give a round of applause for him. The videographers are here, and most of our senior Chopper Smith is here, so we thank God for him. I see a lieutenant in the house, Lieutenant Yessa, and all the officers who made this possible this morning. And open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Come on, put your hands together. Hey. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Open the eyes of my heart. I want to see you. Yeah. I want to know you. Come on, help me say, open the eyes. Open the Let's go. So God can use me anywhere, anytime. This last song before the introduction of our guest is How Great Is Our God. How great is our God. Hallelujah. It's the remix. It's the remix. All right?
See
Isaac, brother Isaac.
Good, how are you?
Let's give him a round of applause.
I'm Josh. Yes, ma'am.
Happy to be here. I just want you guys to know I'm Isaac. I'm from God Behind Bars. Jake Bodine, the CEO of God Behind Bars and the founder, really wanted to be here. He just wanted to say that he loves you guys. He's thinking about you guys all the time. And this place is such a special place to our hearts. This is one of our first GBB places. And I mean, even having the logo on the wall and seeing you all here is just powerful and amazing. And we've been really wanting to just fill this place with so many awesome events for you all. We appreciate you, love you guys so much. We think about you guys seriously all the time. How can we support you all? And even the books, we wanted to get you these books. So I'm so excited to bring up a guy named Ben Higgins. He was on The Bachelor. I don't know if some of you guys know that. And he wrote a book, A Learning Plain Sight. And he's walked through a lot of stuff in his journey, and he's reaching hundreds of thousands to maybe millions of people with the love of Jesus. And he wanted to be here with you guys and wanted to just share some thoughts, share his heart, and then he's excited to sign some copies of the book too. So, can you guys give a huge, hearty round of applause to Ben?
What's up? Yeah. Well, thank you all. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna, first off, my name's Ben. I'm from Warsaw, Indiana. I live in Denver, Colorado now. I'm so pumped to be here. It wasn't easy to get here, though. Thank you. Let me tell you why. We've been planning this for a few months now. This has been something I've been looking forward to. I believe in what God Behind Bars is doing. I believe in what you all are doing through it and with it. They called, I bet 6 months ago, and said, hey, we would love to get your book. I'm sorry about the cover. You have to stare at my face. That wasn't my choice. It's great that I walk in to see my book, but it's also, oh, thank you so much. Weird to see my face everywhere. So we discussed me coming in here because they said, hey, we'd love to get your book into the app that they're doing. I'm sorry, I forget the name of the app at this point. Yeah, Pano. And what is it? Pando. Okay. We'd love to get your book into the app. And I said, well, I'd also love to go and say hi to the people reading it and tell them a little bit more about my story, to look them in the eyes, to hang out a bit. So anyways, I'm telling you a story for a reason. 10 days ago, I was at a gathering. There's a guy named Bob Goff. You might have read some of his books. I don't know if they're around anywhere. But he's a really popular author. He has a house in San Diego, and he invites pastors and speakers and authors to come spend a few days and just like regroup. It's mostly because we've seen so many men and women within the church break down due to stress and just their lives get off course. So this is a place just to go regroup. But one of the days, these pastors decided they wanted to play some basketball. This is 10 days ago. Sweet. And I was like, I'm in. I'm from Indiana. I'm taller, so I play a lot of basketball. We go out there, and I think we're just going to take it easy. Where all of a sudden, elbows start to get thrown. People start to get after a little bit. And so I say, well, I'm going to get after a little bit, too. So I grab a rebound. I'm running down the court. A guy steps out in front of me. I cut, and the reason I'm sitting down, I'm sorry, this isn't to be disrespectful. I blew my knee out, ACL, MCL, PCL. So right now, I don't have a knee, really. And I thought I was going to have to get surgery last week, which would have kept me from coming here. But by God's grace, my knee was too swollen last week to get surgery. So they said, let's do it on September 7th, which allowed me to come here, which will be my last trip. Which will be my last trip before I get married in November. So I'm now going back home. I won't be seeing many people other than you before that big day, and I couldn't pick a better spot to hang out. Her name is Jessica. She is the sweetest human in the world. She's been with me through all these ups and downs, and obviously being on a show that's about dating. She's not from the show, just in case you're wondering. I can't imagine we have a lot of Bachelor fans in here. Maybe we do. But she's not from it. I met her about 3 years ago, and she's enhanced my life in every way, especially with my relationship with God. She's made me a better man. She's kept me stable, kept me grounded, and so I'm very excited for that day. But I have to get back and get surgery so I can walk down the aisle, hopefully. But either way, I'll make it down it. All right, so anyways, I wanted to give you a little background of how it was to get here. I believe that is something that just shouldn't be dismissed. I was really sad last week when I thought I wasn't going to be able to hear and spend time with you all. It doesn't make a lot of sense either why I'd be so sad. I've never met any of you. I didn't know what I was showing up to. I didn't know really what this was all about. I just flew onto a plane yesterday, got down here, rode in a car about an hour outside of Tampa, and I showed up. But there was something inside my heart that said you need to be there. Maybe for me, maybe for somebody out there, I don't know why yet. There was something inside me that said you need to be there. And I'm here now, and I couldn't be more thankful for it. I've been able to meet a few of you in the back there. I was kind of sitting back there. I didn't know if I was going to be able to stand or sit up here, so I was trying to rest a little bit. I've been able to meet a lot of you and hear your hearts and hear how God Behind Bars has benefited you, also how you've benefited the people around you. And so I wanted to sit here, and I prayed last night. I said, God, give me some words to speak when I look in front of the people that's going to be in this room. And I really just want to look at all of you in the eyes and start this and say, to start this whole time together today, I just want to let you know you are loved, like deeply loved by a God who is fighting with you and for you and is amongst us right here in this room. You are so loved. And I know some of you that might just go in one ear and out the other. It might just brush through. But I hope you understand that I'm sitting here, and that was the message that God told me to say today. I was back there, I said, God, what is it that you want me to say? And he just said, tell them they're loved. Amen. Look them in the eyes. Tell them they care. There's an interesting side of this book when I wrote it. I wrote it because I've struggled my whole life. And there's not really a great reason why. I've struggled my whole life with feeling like the outsider. Feeling pushed aside, feeling like I don't fit in. Even in groups of people where I should have felt like I fit in, I just feel like the outsider. I feel like the person that doesn't belong. I feel inadequate. And I started writing this stuff down in my journal because I was going through a time of deep depression, of heavy addiction. I couldn't figure out what my life's value was. So I started writing this journal, not really knowing why, like, hey, today I feel this way. Today I'm questioning my value. Today I'm questioning my worth. Today I'm questioning what this whole thing is about. A few years later, I ended up on a television show. A year after that, I was at a random meeting, and a lady in the room is a publisher. She said, Ben, would you ever want to write a book? I said, yeah, I just don't know what I'd write about. She goes, well, what has your life been defined by? And maybe it was just a bad day for me, or maybe this was true. I said, a lot of my life has been defined by feeling like I don't fit in, feeling like I don't belong. Yeah, I know there is a God because this God has continued to interfere in my life in the most beautiful ways. I know there's a God that loves me, but I can't make sense of my life and my relationships and where this God fits in. And so oftentimes I just feel pushed aside. She said, that's what you're going to write about. That's what you're going to write about. So I start to share the message of this book, and I'm telling you, as Isaac was gracious enough to say, but thousands upon thousands of people have written in just saying, me too, I feel pushed aside also. I don't have any good reason for it. I've been given a lot in life. Maybe I haven't been given a lot, maybe I've been given nothing. But there's one thing that we have in common is we can both relate on a level that we feel pushed aside. And so I wrote this book to help people reconnect, to share some truth that I've witnessed in my life and I've witnessed in the stories of others, where there is not only a God that loves us, but there's people around us that help us build a community to help us feel less alone. And I know that exists at some level in here. I don't know you all well. I'm not going to speak down to you and tell you what you should and shouldn't do. I don't know you well enough to do that. I don't know the ins and outs of how this place works. But what I do know just from my short time here is there's not only ability for a loving community, there already is a loving community through some of the people that I've already got to meet, the chaplains. And I want to let you know this. I was sitting back there and somebody came up to me and they said, you know what makes this place different? You know what makes Hardy different? It's because we have chaplains who care for us, who step in with us, who interact with us, who know us by name. Yeah. They also mentioned some of the volunteers that come in more than anybody else. They said they're here all the time. In fact, I was just told that you ground people and people pay attention to it. That's powerful. And you all know that better than I do. But what I can tell is the reason this place might feel different or is different is because there's people that really just care. And they don't do it from a place of, hey, I'm greater than or I'm better than. It's a place of love, just to say, hey, I've been given something in my life to share with you and I want to share it well. And if it's my time, if it's my attention, if it's my energy, it's worth it. And maybe just possibly that will change a life. So thank you to the volunteers. Thank you to chaplains. Thank you to the people who made this possible today. Thank you to God behind bars. I wanted to say that early on, just to let them know that it doesn't go unseen. And I know oftentimes in our worlds we can feel unseen, but it doesn't go unseen. I also want to share that as a few people point out, they pointed a few people out in this room. I'm not going to do it because I know many of you are doing great things in this world, but there is people that are sitting out here in the audience that people would say, you know what they do? They pray hard for the other men in this room. You know, they pointed at somebody else. You know what they do? They help guide the worship. You know what they do? They help lead little missional circles around this area when people are hurting and in pain. So kudos to all of you. Okay, let's dive in for a second. Yeah, clap for all of you. You're doing great stuff. Yeah. So the book that I wrote really is a cry from my soul, a cry from my heart. It's a cry for all of us out there. I think there's a few things in life that connect us, and I believe that pain is actually one of those. I believe that we've all experienced some sort of joy in this world, but pain is the thing that brings us actually together oftentimes because we've all experienced some level of pain and sorrow. I don't care where you come from. We can all still have a sad story. We can still all have a story that has defined us and changed us. And so Alone in Plain Sight, my book, starts with this idea that what if actually one of the thread lines through life is that we can be empathetic in other people's pains? What if we can look people in the eye and say, hey, you're not alone. I know this hurts. I know this is confusing. I know you feel some level of maybe shame or guilt, or you feel like you're being judged or pushed aside from this, but you're not alone in this. I'm here with you. I think our shared pains actually connect us in a deeper way. The first section of the book is about reconnecting with self. It's about stripping away all the labels. And if you could do this for a second, even as I'm talking, you don't even need to be listening to me right now after I just make this statement. If you can do this for a second, or even later today, Jesus was known to kind of walk away from the crowds and take a moment of contemplation and meditation and prayer. And maybe today is a good day to do that. My challenge to you is to do this. So take away all the labels, all the shame, everything inside of you. I don't know the labels that you've placed on yourself. I don't know the labels that the world has placed on you or that you feel like you have to hold yourself to a standard of. I don't know those labels. I don't know the shame and the guilt that you carry. I know the shame and the guilt that I carry. I know the things that I have done. But what does it look like if you rip all of those away? If you give yourself the gift for a second to say that no longer defines me, that no longer is what that when I think of myself and I think of my name that I'm going to hold myself to, what is left standing? So the first section of the book really leads up to this very simple question that I want all of you to ask here today. Who am I? Who am I if everything else has been ripped away? Who am I? Who is it in here? Who do I know I am? Who do I claim to be? Who is it that still exists when I forgive, when I release, when I stop holding on so tightly to the things that feel like they suppress me? So the first section of this book is asking the question, who am I if nothing else is left standing? So I encourage you to do that because what I think that does is it not only brings us to common ground, I also think it heightens, hopefully it does in you, some beautiful characteristics that already exist. You're here today for a reason. I already told you that you are loved. Again, that might go in one ear and out the other. But if it's not obvious to you by the people that come in here and work and the people that come in here and volunteer, then I'm just questioning how smart you are, because I know a lot of you are very smart. These people are giving up many days of their life just to come in here and love on you and try to scream from the mountaintop that you are deeply loved. And maybe that's what's left standing. Maybe you're just a child of God. Maybe that's the one thing left, is that you are a child of God who is deeply loved and deeply cared for. That's great. I don't know what your answer will be, but it will be something. So I encourage you to do that today. The second chapter, or section of this book, is reconnecting with others. Friendships hurt. I'm sure we've all in this room been hurt by friendships at different times in our lives. Again, this is not me speaking down to you, speaking with you. I want to look you guys in the eyes and say, I can guarantee that at some point in your life, you've been hurt by somebody that you cared deeply for. You probably still hold some type of pain and grudge on that person. That person still probably, when you think of their name, there's still probably a hollow feeling in your heart that you have no idea what to do with. Friendships hurt. They're hard, so why would we do them? They're voluntary. They're not like given to us. They're voluntary. Why do we invest into community? Why do we invest into friendship? The second section of this book is to show that maybe we were made for that community. But I also tell a story in that book that I want to tell here. Because as I was praying and preparing for this day, I took a responsibility on myself to say two things. One is what can maybe be helpful, and two, maybe what am I experiencing right now in my life that I need to get better at, that I could speak with you all about. And then finally, again, how do I not speak from a place that I know all, because I don't. But I can speak with you in maybe a really large, like, small group, which is today. But 2 years ago, I came off this television show. I was on the cover of magazines. I felt like my time was limited. I felt like I was really important. I wasn't, but I felt like I was. My little cousin calls me. She lives in Marion, Indiana. Marion, Indiana is a really small town in central Indiana that not a lot of people know about now. It's kind of depleted because it was really known for the manufacturing of automobiles back in the day, and that's now gone away. And so this town is pretty beat up. So there's not a lot of people there. But anyway, she calls me and she says she's a part of this community theater group in Marion, Indiana. And she calls me and she said, Ben, will you come be in Grease, the community theater play, for 3 days in Marion, Indiana? I was like, oh, that's awesome. I don't want to be here. Like, why would I want to show up, fly from Denver, Colorado to Marion, Indiana to see my little cousin dance on stage, and I'm going to get out there in Grease in a leather jacket with a bunch of high schoolers? It sounds terrible. But I couldn't get myself to say no. So long story short, I show up to the theater, and I'm standing in the back, and it's the very last play of the year for these kids. And the thing about my cousin that maybe people don't know, she's very similar to me, where she does feel like an outsider also. She doesn't feel like she fits in ever. And she really doesn't always fit in. She's unique. She's different. I love her dearly, but she's an odd one. But I care about her, and we relate on a level that's deeper than most people in my life. And so when I showed up to this, I knew how important it was to her for me to be there. But I'm standing in the back just kind of watching their very last theater practice take place. And all these kids get in a circle and they start crying. They're crying, and what they say to each other is, I've never felt more accepted. I mean, this is a whole group of weird ones. Like, this is a whole group of misfits, which is kind of life in general. Like, I think we all are misfits at a lot of level. It doesn't matter where you're at, but they're all standing in a circle, and they said, I've never felt more loved than when I'm in this room. I've never felt more accepted when I'm in this room. I've never felt more seen when I'm in this room. I'm scared of what it's going to look like when I don't have this community beside me. And I'm sitting there watching that, and they're all saying, yes, me too, and they're crying, and they're holding each other. I mean, this is a beautiful group of people. Like, we have all different colors, all different backgrounds, all different orientations, all different things going on. I mean, it's a beautiful mix of people, and they're just leaning on each other, hugging each other, crying towards each other. And there's something that hit me at this moment that said, this is why you came to this play. And what I took from this moment, and I stood in front of them and I said this, and it just came from my heart. I said, what if, yes, this is sad that you're leaving this community, but what if you've now tasted community in your life? What if you now went out and started becoming community makers wherever life takes you? And when I thought about today, that's the message I really wanted to speak into this room, was the value that each one of you have now to go out and create healthy, helpful communities, that you have a purpose and a value to share God's love with those who are hurting the most, to lean in the moments that are hardest for others. You can all relate. You now, based on life circumstances, have an empathy and an understanding that will be a great tool and asset to spreading the love of God amongst anybody you come in contact with. You're learning it here, you're building it up, you're practicing it, and then when you walk out these doors and you walk into this world, it doesn't stop, it continues. The skills that you're learning in this room and that you're hearing and you're being poured into by the volunteers and the chaplains now can go out and you can create communities that are healthy and helpful and loving and uplifting. You can look somebody in the eyes and say, you're not alone, I'm here with you. I understand, or I hear you, I see you. You can now go out there and be life changers. At a company that I operate right now, I have a coffee company that's on the front of that book called Generous Coffee. What we do is we sell coffee and we donate 100% of the profits to nonprofits around the world. That story gets really hard to track down over time because it spreads out and there's a lot of things going on and there's a lot of different people involved. And so 2 years ago, one of my employees called me and she says, I'm feeling defeated because I don't know how to encourage myself in the stories that we're creating. Meaning there are so many stories and so many things going on that she couldn't lean in and really celebrate the life change. And what we came to is this, and we tell each other this every day now. It's if one person is bettered by the life that we live or that I'm living or that Generous is doing, then it's all been worth it. That's the value we put into each person. And so I look at all of you today and say you have a tremendous amount of value. You have a tremendous amount of purpose, and maybe, just maybe, that purpose is the leaning into one person in your life and letting them know they're loved, they're seen, so that they can make it one more day. They can breathe one more time. They can take one more breath. I believe if you do that, then this whole life's been worth it. Amen. I believe it. I do. I believe that God is behind you in that. I believe the breath of God is within us and amongst us right now, and I believe that if one person is better because of the life that you're living, this whole thing's been worth it. It might be confusing at times. It might be defeating at times. We might not always feel like we're on the mountaintop, but we just keep going. We keep learning along the way. The final section of this book, there's 4 sections. The last is romance, and I didn't really think I didn't know what I was going to talk about today about romance. I'll let you guys read it and pick up what you want from it. The last section that I'll talk about here is about a connection with God. I run into a lot of people in my world that don't believe that there's a God that loves. Doesn't believe in a God. They don't believe in a God at all. So I just always like to ask one question: what if there is a God that loves? Because this room is an example that there is a God that loves. You're all an example that there is a God that's actively pursuing all of us, all the time, no matter where we're at, no matter what we're doing. I see the worship, and it's beautiful to me to see just a group of people worshiping, laying down their lives, crying out to God, saying thank you, saying you are powerful, you are with me. Our lives in this room are example that there is a God of love. So if that God exists, what does that do to us and for us and with us? What does this whole life mean if there's a God out there that cares deeply about each and every one of you sitting in this room? Again, with all those labels, with all of those pressures, with all those burdens stripped away. I want to remind you to do that today. I want to remind you to sit in a place where you tell yourself who you are if everything else has been stripped away, because you are forgiven. You are loved. You are cared for. I am forgiven. I am loved. I am cared for. I have to ask myself, of all the things that I put in my mind, that I'm the outsider, that I don't fit in, that I'm worthless, that I'm a fraud, if I continue to preach those things into my mind every day, I'm going to be suppressed and be pushed aside. But what if instead I dig deep and I find that place in my soul that still cries out and says, Ben, you are just loved by God. Ben, you are an asset. You are a tool. You have learned. You have grown. You have continued to take steps forward in life, even when you've been pushed off course. That's who you are, Ben. When everything's stripped away, you are still somebody that has a tremendous amount of value and purpose in this world. I don't know what that's going to be for you, but if it doesn't look something similar to that, if your message at the end of this is that you don't have a tremendous amount of value, if you aren't extremely loved by a God of all, that if you aren't community builders yourselves, then I'm going to ask you to revisit that question again and start over and keep doing it until you can get to that point, because that is the truth. That is the message. Anything different than that is untrue, and none of us in this room, I can speak for us, I think, we want to continue to live in lies. We want to live in the truth. Thank you for letting me come in with you. Thank you for letting me hang out with you. I really just wanted to share with you that very simple message, that beyond all else, you're cared for, you are loved, you have value, you have purpose, and you can be community builders wherever you exist right now. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know the times. I don't know the amount of time we have today. If you want to ask any questions about the book writing process, I know some of you told me you want to write your books, and we can do that. I'm also going to sign some books if you're interested in that. I think probably back there somewhere at the end, or somewhere around here, you'll see me. But I don't know what time we have, but maybe for 5 to 10 minutes. Question and answer, is that okay? Cool. I'll just let you scream out here. Yeah, go ahead. Tell me and if you can, please tell me your name. I'd like to know your names.
How you doing? My name is Liz.
Nice to meet you.
What's your favorite Bible scripture?
Oh, here. You want to pass the mic?
You know your favorite Bible scripture?
Yeah, I do. Let's see if this works. Is this turned on? We'll just pass that one around so people can hear. What's my favorite Bible scripture? I do. I have it tattooed down my side. Proverbs 16:3, it says, commit to the Lord whatever you do and your plans will succeed. It just feels like it wraps it up for me. I'm not the smartest person in the world. I get confused often. I get disoriented often, and that verse has always allowed me a filter through which I make my decisions, commit to the Lord whatever I do. And what I think God called me to is to love God and love others. And so as I filter through that lens, is if I love God and love others, then whatever it is, as long as I keep taking steps forward, will succeed. It might not succeed the whole time, but it's going to succeed in the end. It's not how I start, it's how I finish. So what that represents to me. I have a funny story really quick, and I know there might be other questions. I got this tattoo down my side. I would show you, but that might be weird. Yeah. But what happened is I go in to get my tattoo done, and I get home. I'm in college. I'm mad at my parents at the time. I'm a freshman in college. And they told me not to get a tattoo, so I went and got a tattoo. So I get home to my roommate, and I show him, and he goes, Ben, your side says Proverbs 16:34. There's no Proverbs 16:34. I said, no, it doesn't. So I just got this. Like, literally, I just got home and showed him. He goes, no, it does. I look at myself in the mirror. Sure enough, it says Proverbs 16:34. The guy that did the tattoo had numbered them out 1, 2, 3, 4 on the spacing of the lines, and just got tired over time and added the 4 to it. So now there's a cross over the 4 that will be with me forever. Anyways, yeah. So thank you. Any other questions? Yeah.
How you doing? My name is Silas.
Silas, nice to meet you.
All right, I want to know, did you speak the word of God to the people at Bachelor?
The Bachelor.
Did you share a word with them?
I did. It's very clear to them that I had a faith. So how that works is you're on The Bachelorette, which is like another show, and then you get asked to be the Bachelor, and then you're kind of like the lead of the show for a bit. And so on The Bachelorette, they knew that I had a strong faith, that it was something important to me, but you're kind of a side character. And then as a Bachelor, it was, the whole point of that is to try to find love. It works sometimes. Now, not all the time. It didn't work for me, but it works sometimes. And I know a lot of people are like, that seems like the weirdest way, to meet somebody. I agree. But in order to find my partner forever, they had to know the thing that defined me and drove me, and that I represented my life by, and that was a love for Jesus. So I had to talk about it. I did. I think it also just changed the way that few short months with 200 people that work on that show, maybe hopefully saw the love of God a little bit in me. I would hope. I don't know. You'd have to ask them because I don't really see him anymore, but I hope they just saw, hey, there's something different about the way he thanks me, speaks, carries myself. Like there's just a different attitude and thankfulness in his life and care. I hope so. What's that? I did that. I did. Yes. I hope so. Yeah.
How you doing? I'm Chris Franklin.
Hey, Chris.
I appreciate you coming in. In your book, on the very back, it says you want to deconstruct the fairy tale view of love. And for us that carry our spouses here, we're constantly finding new ways to be creative with our relationships. And I was wondering if you can kind of go into depth with that, kind of explain.
Yeah. So we were actually talking about it on the drive here today. That's a good question. You know, when I was younger, there would be this like euphoric feeling when I would be dating somebody. Like it would be like all consuming. Like every day you're thinking about her, you can't function without her, you know, that kind of stuff, right? And over time that always faded. Not my, and like I would be questioning, like what is it that's been like gone now? Like why is that feeling, those butterflies still not there? And so I started talking to pastors and counselors about it. And really what it came down to was like, love isn't about the fairy tales and butterflies. It's about the commitment. It's about the choice. It's about the decision to wake up every day and say, I'm going to be a better partner to you today than I was yesterday. That it's hard. It takes work. It takes focus. It takes attention. You just can't float through it, you know? I also spend a lot of time traveling right now. So my fiance is in Denver, Colorado now as well. We did long distance, and I would say that our distance always made us miss each other. But our time together built something, a depth inside of us that was uniquely different with her than the butterflies. And so I would say this, for anybody out there, what I've learned in my life is that if your butterflies and the euphoric feeling has faded, but the core and the foundation of the relationship is still healthy, it doesn't mean the love is gone. Amen. That love is a choice. It's a commitment. And then the second piece of that would be, you know, I don't know how to create it, make it creative within the confines of your life right now. But what I can do is, most of the time in my relationship, all Jessica, my fiance, wants to do is be seen. Like not just like see her, but she just wants me to hear her, be with her, give her my attention and my time to listen, to be that partner that she knows she can trust, that she can confide in, and that looks at her with love and care. I was on The Bachelor. I've flown in helicopters with girls. That's great. It didn't help me find my wife. I've taken really nice vacations. That didn't help me find my wife. What helped me find my wife is when I looked at Jessica, I said, I want to be with you through thick and thin. I want to stay with you no matter what, that I love you and I care for you and I'm here to protect you and keep you safe, not only in this world, but emotionally as well. So, yeah, I would say the best thing I know now that I'm learning to do is to help Jessica feel seen every day. Awesome. Yeah. I'm Ben Higgins, and I'm here with God Behind Bars at Hardy Correctional Facility, and it was an incredible experience, full of a lot of vulnerability, a lot of connection, and a lot of men wanting to do right. I learned a lot. I hope they learned something, but it's been a great day.